Inside the sarcophagus wasn't treasure, it was a thirsty alien vampire hiding for 6,000 years. Laszlo Toth adjusted his night vision goggles as he descended deeper into the alien temple's bowels. His black stealth suit, reinforced with steel armor plates, barely made a sound as he moved through the darkness. The temple walls, covered in phosphorescent moss, cast an eerie green glow that complemented his gears-enhanced vision. "Another dead end," he muttered, brushing his thick brown beard. His shoulder-length wavy hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, keeping it out of his face as he examined the ancient symbols carved into the walls. The Interstellar Archaeological Society had sent him to investigate this newly discovered temple on Proxima b, but something felt different about this expedition. The symbols weren't just decorative, they told a story of a civilization that had vanished mysteriously thousands of years ago. "Base, do you copy?" Laszlo spoke into his comm unit, only static answered. "Great, interference again." He continued deeper, his boots leaving tracks in the millennium-old dust. The temple's architecture was unlike anything he'd seen before. Organic curves blended seamlessly with geometric patterns, creating an alien yet somehow familiar aesthetic. The passage opened into a vast chamber, and Laszlo's breath caught in his throat. In the center stood a massive sarcophagus, its surface covered in intricate engravings that seemed to shift in his enhanced vision. The artifact was easily 12 feet tall and made of a material he couldn't identify. "Holy shit," he whispered, approaching carefully. His scanner showed no signs of radiation or toxic materials. This could be it, the discovery of the century. The sarcophagus's surface was cool to the touch, almost metallic but with an organic quality. Laszlo found what appeared to be a seam and pulled out his multi-tool. "Let's see what treasures you're hiding." As he worked the seam, the air grew noticeably colder. His breath formed clouds in front of his face, and the moss's glow intensified. With a final push, the seam cracked open with a hiss of ancient air. Laszlo stepped back, weapon ready, standard procedure when opening any sealed alien container, but nothing could have prepared him for what emerged. A slender figure burst from the sarcophagus, moving faster than his eyes could track. Before he could react, she stood before him, a humanoid female with emerald green skin and flowing black hair that seemed to absorb light. Her eyes glowed red, and when she opened her mouth, sharp fangs gleamed. Laszlo raised his laser pistol, but something in those eyes made him hesitate. They weren't just predatory. They held intelligence, curiosity, and something else, desperation. "You're either very brave or very foolish to come here alone," she said in perfect English, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "How do you know my language?" Laszlo kept his weapon trained on her, but his finger stayed off the trigger. She smiled, revealing those impressive fangs again. "Your surface thoughts are quite loud, especially when you're afraid. I'm Landa, last of the Neferi. And you, Laszlo Toth, have just saved my life by opening that sarcophagus." "You're a vampire," he stated, pieces clicking into place. The legends, the symbols, it all made sense now. A crude term, but essentially correct. My species evolved to require blood for survival, though we abandoned feeding on sentient beings millennia ago. She swayed slightly. "I've been in stasis for 6,000 years, hiding from those who sought to destroy us. And now, I'm rather famished." Laszlo heard movement behind him, a large rat attracted by the disturbance. In one fluid motion, he turned and fired, the laser blast catching the creature cleanly. He picked up the still warm carcass and offered it to Landa. Not exactly a gourmet meal, but she laughed, a surprisingly musical sound. "How thoughtful. Usually men just run screaming when they meet me." She accepted the rat with a gracious nod. "Though I must say, your cooking method is rather unique." As she fed, color returned to her emerald skin, and her movements became more fluid. "Much better. Now shall we discuss why you're really here, and perhaps why the universe arranged for someone like you to find me?" The ancient chamber's air shifted as Landa regained her strength, the emerald tone of her skin deepening to a richer hue. Laszlo kept his distance, professional training warring with undeniable fascination. "Your technology," he gestured to the sarcophagus, "it's incredible. The stasis field's complexity is beyond anything we've developed." Landa stretched languidly, her movements carrying an otherworldly grace. "Necessity breeds innovation, Laszlo Toth. When your entire species faces extinction, You learn to push boundaries. She ran her fingers along the sarcophagus's surface, activating hidden patterns that glowed beneath her touch. This was more than just a hiding place. It was a repository of our knowledge. The Interstellar Archaeological Society would kill for access to this, Laszlo muttered, then winced at his poor choice of word. Landa's laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound like crystal wind chimes. Poor choice of phrase considering your company? Her red eyes sparkled with amusement. Though I must say, your species' directness is refreshing. She moved closer, studying him with unabashed interest. Laszlo held his ground, though his pulse quickened. At this distance, he could see the subtle patterns in her emerald skin, like living circuitry beneath the surface. You're not what I expected, she admitted, circling him slowly. Most species we encountered were either hostile or terrified. But you, she paused, inhaling deeply. You're curious, excited even. Your heart races not from fear, but anticipation. I'm an explorer, Laszlo replied, turning to keep her in view. Finding new life, new civilizations. It's what I live for. And what about finding old ones? Her fangs glinted as she smiled. My people were ancient when your ancestors were learning to make fire. Before Laszlo could respond, a low rumble shook the chamber. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling as ancient mechanisms groaned to life. The temple's security systems, Landa hissed, her playful demeanor vanishing. Opening the sarcophagus must have triggered them. Laszlo checked his equipment readings. Energy signatures are spiking throughout the complex. Whatever's powering this place, it's waking up. We need to reach the control center, Landa said, moving toward one of the chamber's exits. These defenses were designed to protect against the harvesters. They won't discriminate between friend and foe. Lead the way, Laszlo replied, readying his weapon. Though I have to ask, who or what are the harvesters? Landa's expression darkened. Pray you never find out. They're the reason my people had to hide. The reason I spent 6 millennia in stasis. She paused at the threshold, looking back at him. They harvest genetic material from advanced species, using it to enhance themselves. And they're still out there, somewhere in the dark between galaxies. The temple shuddered again, and distant machinery echoed through the corridors. Laszlo made a quick decision, one that would change his life forever. My mission was to study this temple, document its secrets, he said, falling into step beside her. I'd say finding a living member of its civilization counts as a successful expedition. Are you offering to help me? Landa asked, genuine surprise in her voice. I'm offering partnership, Laszlo corrected. Your knowledge, my skills. Together, we might just survive whatever this place throws at us. Landa studied him for a long moment, her red eyes seeming to peer into his soul. Finally, she nodded. Partnership, she agreed, extending her hand in a surprisingly human gesture. Though I warn you, Laszlo Toth, getting involved with me might be more adventure than you bargained for. He took her hand, noting how her cool skin seemed to warm at his touch. I'll take my chances. Together they ventured deeper into the temple's depths, unaware that their meeting would spark events that would change not just their lives, but the fate of 2 species forever. The temple's ancient corridors seemed to pulse with renewed energy as Laszlo and Landa navigated deeper into its depths. Their footsteps echoed off walls covered in bioluminescent circuitry, casting ever-shifting shadows that danced around them. Your heart's still racing, Landa observed, her emerald skin reflecting the ambient glow. But its rhythm has changed, more anticipatory now. Laszlo checked his scanner, trying to maintain professional focus despite her teasing. These energy readings are off the charts. The whole temple's waking up. Deflecting my observation? She moved with fluid grace, her midnight hair flowing like liquid shadow. How very human of you. Before he could respond, the scanner beeped urgently. Multiple power signatures activating ahead. Looks like defense drones, Landa finished, her playful demeanor shifting to alert focus. The temple's automated guardians. They're not particularly discriminating about targets. A metallic whirring filled the air as sleek silver machines emerged from wall panels. Their crystalline cores pulsed with the same energy that powered the temple. Any weaknesses I should know about? Laszlo asked, weapon ready. Landa's fangs glinted in a predatory smile. Several. Watch and learn, partner. She moved like liquid mercury, faster than human eyes could track. The first drone exploded in a shower of sparks as her clawed hand pierced its core. Laszlo didn't waste time admiring her skill. He fired precise shots at the drone's joint mechanisms, sending them crashing to the ground. "Impressive accuracy," Landa called out, dispatching another drone. "Most species lack the coordination to hit such small targets." "Most species don't have special forces training," he replied, rolling under a drone's energy blast and destroying it with a point-blank shot. Working in tandem, they cleared the corridor in minutes. Laszlo noticed how they naturally complemented each other's movements, as if they had trained together for years instead of meeting hours ago. "You adapt quickly," Landa noted, examining one of the destroyed drones. "These units were designed to counter multiple species' combat styles, yet you found their weakness instantly." "Professional curiosity," Laszlo echoed her earlier words with a grin. "Speaking of which, these drones look familiar. Similar design to your sarcophagus." Landa's expression grew serious. "They should. Both were created to defend against the harvesters." She touched the drone's crystalline core, and holographic data streamed from it. "These were our last line of defense. When they failed..." Her voice trailed off as the hologram showed massive ships darkening skies, mechanical horrors descending upon gleaming cities. Laszlo stepped closer, drawn by both the historical significance and the pain in her voice. "You don't have to talk about it," he said softly. She turned to him, red eyes intense. "But I do, because they're still out there, Laszlo. The harvesters never stop. They move between galaxies, gathering genetic material to enhance themselves. And now," she gestured to the activated temple around them, "now they might know where to find me." The temple's power signature, Laszlo realized. It could act like a beacon. "Precisely, which means we need to reach the control center quickly." She started moving again, her pace urgent but controlled. There's more at stake here than just ancient history. They traversed deeper into the temple complex, encountering more activated defense systems. Each challenge seemed to strengthen their coordination, their movements becoming more synchronized. "Through here," Landa indicated a massive doorway covered in pulsing symbols. "The main archive chamber. It connects to the control center." The door slid open at her touch, revealing a vast circular room filled with holographic displays. Ancient knowledge floated in the air like luminous clouds, waiting to be accessed. "Beautiful," Laszlo breathed, his explorer's heart racing at the sight. "Yes, it is," Landa agreed, but when he glanced over, she was looking at him rather than the displays. Their eyes met, and the air seemed to charge with unspoken possibilities. Laszlo felt drawn toward her, professional detachment warring with growing attraction. "You know," Landa said softly, stepping closer, "in my culture, showing such skill in battle is considered quite appealing. Is that so?" Laszlo managed, very aware of her proximity. "And here I thought you were just impressed by my drone-killing technique." Her laugh sent shivers down his spine. "That too. Though I must admit, I'm finding many human traits intriguing." Before the moment could develop further, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Holographic displays shifted, showing multiple objects entering the planet's atmosphere. "No," Landa whispered, her face paling to a lighter shade of emerald. "It's too soon. They couldn't have detected us already." Laszlo studied the readings, his military training kicking in. 7 ships, advanced stealth technology, but my scanner's picking up trace energy signatures similar to your temple's power source. "Harvester scout ships," Landa confirmed, her hands flying over the control interfaces. "They must have detected the temple's reactivation. We need to." The entire chamber shuddered as something massive impacted the surface above. Emergency containment fields sprang to life around them as ancient defense protocols activated. "Options?" Laszlo asked, already calculating escape routes. Landa's expression was fierce. "We'd fight. This temple contains more than just their historical records, Laszlo. It holds weapons, technology that could help defend your people when the harvesters reach your worlds. You're suggesting we hold this position against an enemy that nearly wiped out your species?" She turned to him, determination burning in her red eyes. I'm suggesting we wake up this temple's full defense capabilities and remind the harvesters why they should fear the Nepheri." Her hand found his, cool fingers intertwining with warm ones. "That is, if you're willing to trust a vampire you just met with potentially apocalyptic alien technology?" Laszlo squeezed her hand, feeling the strength in her delicate fingers. Well, when you put it that way, how could I refuse? The archive chamber's holographic displays shifted, showing real-time footage of the Harvester ships deploying ground forces. Their mechanical forms were a nightmarish fusion of organic and synthetic components, each movement precise and predatory. "Charming bunch," Laszlo commented, checking his weapon's charge. "Any other surprises I should know about?" Landa's fingers danced across the control interfaces, awakening more of the temple's systems. The Harvesters adapt quickly. Every encounter teaches them, improves them. These won't be the same enemies my people faced millennia ago. "Evolution through absorption," Laszlo mused. "No wonder they were interested in your species." "Interested?" Landa's laugh held no humor. "They were obsessed. The Nephiri's ability to manipulate biological energy, our enhanced strength and speed, our longevity, we were their perfect prey." She paused, glancing at him. "Much like humans would be now." Laszlo raised an eyebrow. "Us, we're barely interstellar, but resilient, adaptable, and—" Her eyes traveled over him appreciatively. "Physically impressive. The Harvesters value potential as much as current capabilities." The chamber rumbled again as more impacts shook the surface. Laszlo studied the tactical displays, noting the enemy's movement patterns. "They're establishing a perimeter. Standard containment protocol. You've seen similar tactics? Special forces, remember? Different scale, same principle." He pointed to several approach vectors. "They'll probe for weaknesses while preventing escape." Classic siege strategy. Landa's expression brightened. "Then perhaps it's time we show them some weaknesses of our own." She activated a new set of controls and the chamber's floor began to reconfigure. Hidden panels slid aside, revealing an arsenal of ancient Nephiri weapons. Laszlo whistled low. "Now that's what I call a secret compartment." "These were our last line of defense," Landa explained, lifting what appeared to be a rifle-like device. "Quantum phase disruptors. They target the Harvester's hybrid biology, forcing their organic and mechanical components out of sync." She handed him the weapon and Laszlo felt it adjust to his grip, its surface rippling like liquid metal. "Neural interface? Impressed?" Landa smirked, arming herself with similar weapons. "Terrified, actually, in a good way." He tested the weapon's weight, feeling it become an extension of his thoughts. "You know, most first dates involve dinner and conversation, not defending ancient temples from cybernetic space vampires." Landa's laughter echoed through the chamber. "Feeling overwhelmed, human?" "Not at all," he grinned. "Just wondering if this means you're interested in a second date." Their banter was interrupted by proximity alerts. The Harvesters had breached the temple's outer defenses and were moving inward. Landa's expression turned serious as she activated the temple's final defensive protocols. "Laszlo," she said softly, "what we're about to face. There's no shame in—" He cut her off by stepping closer, his free hand cupping her face. The contact sent electric shivers through both of them. "I'm not going anywhere, partner." Their eyes locked, crimson meeting brown, and something unspoken passed between them. Landa leaned into his touch, her cool skin warming slightly. "Then let's give them a proper Nephiri welcome," she whispered, her fangs glinting in a fierce smile. The chamber's defenses hummed to life around them as they took positions. Laszlo felt the temple's ancient power coursing through the quantum weapon, synchronized with his thoughts and reflexes. Beside him, Landa moved with predatory grace, her emerald skin seeming to pulse with barely contained energy. "One last thing," she said, turning to him. "Whatever happens, whatever you see, remember that not all monsters are what they seem." "I figured that out the moment you decided not to eat me," Laszlo replied with a wink. Landa's response was cut short as the first wave of Harvesters breached the chamber's outer doors. The battle for the temple, and possibly the future of two species, was about to begin. The temple's archive chamber erupted in chaos as Laszlo and Landa faced the first wave of Harvester forces. Their quantum weapons carved paths through the mechanical monstrosities, each shot disrupting the fusion of organic and synthetic components that made up their enemies. "Multiple human vessels entering orbit," Laszlo called out, checking the tactical display between shots. "Looks like the interstellar defense fleet picked up the Harvester signatures." Landa moved with supernatural grace, her emerald skin glowing with battle energy. "Your people's timing is impeccable." She dispatched 3 Harvesters with precise strikes, though explaining my presence might be interesting. "Admiral Blades leading the fleet," Laszlo replied, admiring how the temple's ancient weapons synchronized with his combat training. He's more open-minded than most. Plus, he owes me a favor. Their conversation paused as another wave of harvesters breached the chamber. Fighting side by side, Laszlo and Landa developed an instinctive rhythm. Her enhanced speed complemented his tactical precision, creating a deadly dance that left their enemies in pieces. The chamber's holographic displays flickered with new data as human dropships began landing on the surface. Landa's movements became more fluid, almost mesmerizing, as the battle intensity increased. Your Admiral might reconsider that favor when he sees what's really here, she said, her voice carrying an undertone of concern. Most species don't react well to finding ancient vampire technology. Laszlo dispatched another harvester before responding. Humans are different, we're curious by nature. His eyes met hers between shots. And personally, I find ancient vampire technology incredibly attractive. A smile played across Landa's lips as she elegantly sidestepped an enemy attack. Just the technology? Before Laszlo could respond, the chamber's main entrance exploded inward. Human Marines in powered armor stormed through the breach, their weapons already targeting the harvesters. Leading them was a tall, distinguished man with silver-streaked hair, Admiral Blade himself. Toth, Blade's voice boomed through the chaos. Care to explain why my morning report includes ancient temples, alien vampires, and mechanical horrors? Just another day at the office, sir, Laszlo called back, continuing to fight alongside Landa. Though I should mention, the vampire's on our side. The Admiral's eyes narrowed as he assessed Landa, who had just elegantly decapitated a harvester with her bare hands. I can see that. Impressive technique. Thank you, Admiral, Landa replied diplomatically, her fangs glinting. I'd curtsy, but we're a bit preoccupied. The combined forces of human Marines and ancient temple defenses began pushing the harvesters back. Laszlo found himself constantly aware of Landa's presence, her movements becoming increasingly synchronized with his own. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Multiple enemy ships retreating from orbit, a Marine reported, fleets engaging the stragglers. Admiral Blade surveyed the chamber while his troops secured the perimeter. Toth, your report mentioned artifacts, not a fully operational alien military installation. To be fair, sir, Laszlo gestured to Landa, who was examining a wounded Marine's armor with fascination. I didn't exactly expect to find her either. Indeed, Blade's expression remained neutral, but his eyes held a hint of amusement. And your companion seems quite comfortable with human military protocols. Landa approached them, her midnight hair settling like a dark halo. I've had 6 millennia to study various species' combat techniques. Humans are particularly inventive. The way she said inventive made Laszlo's pulse quicken. Their eyes met briefly, and he saw his own growing feelings reflected in her crimson gaze. Sir, Laszlo addressed Blade, the harvesters will return in greater numbers. They've been hunting the Neferi, Landa's people, for their genetic advantages. Now they're interested in humans for the same reason. Blade nodded gravely. I suspected as much when our long-range sensors detected their biomechanical signatures. The Federation Council needs to know about this threat. The temple contains defensive technologies that could help protect Earth, Landa offered. My people develop countermeasures against the harvesters' absorption abilities. And you're willing to share this technology? Blade asked, his tactical mind clearly working. Let's say I have a vested interest in humanity's survival. Landa's hand brushed against Laszlo's arm, sending electricity through both of them. The Admiral's eyes flickered between them, noting the gesture. I see. Toth, you'll remain here as our liaison. Work with, Landa to catalog the temple's defensive capabilities. Yes, sir, Laszlo replied, perhaps too quickly. As Blade coordinated with his fleet, Laszlo and Landa found themselves alone in a quieter section of the chamber. The battle's adrenaline was fading, replaced by something more intense. Your Admiral is quite perceptive, Landa murmured, moving closer, though he doesn't know half of what's truly happening here. Laszlo felt drawn to her like a moth to flame. And what exactly is happening here? Something unprecedented. Her emerald skin seemed to pulse with inner light. My people never considered the possibility of compatibility with other species. But you're different, Laszlo. Humans are different. Their faces were inches apart now, The chamber's ancient energy seemed to resonate with their proximity, creating a subtle harmonic hum. "Different good?" Laszlo asked softly. "Different perfect," Landa breathed. The temple's ambient light dimmed around them, as if responding to their intimate moment. Landa's crimson eyes held depths of longing that transcended mere physical attraction. "My people believed in destiny," she whispered, her cool breath brushing his skin. "That certain souls were meant to find each other across the vast expanse of space and time." Laszlo cupped her face gently, feeling her skin warm to his touch. "And what do you believe?" "I believe 6,000 years of waiting led me to this moment. To you." Her fingers traced the contours of his beard. "Humans truly are remarkable creatures. So young, yet so brave, so passionate." Their first kiss was like touching a live wire. Electric, dangerous, and absolutely irresistible. The temple's crystals pulsed in harmony with their heartbeats as centuries of loneliness melted away in the heat of their embrace. Hours later, Admiral Blade found them reviewing ancient defense schematics, their professional demeanor betrayed only by subtle glances and lingering touches. "The Council has approved emergency protocols," Blade announced. "We're establishing a permanent base here. The temple's defenses will be integrated with our fleet." "A wise decision," Landa nodded, her midnight hair cascading over Laszlo's shoulder as she leaned across him to adjust a holographic display. "The Harvester's defeat here was merely tactical. They'll return with overwhelming force." "Then we'll be ready," Laszlo assured her, his hand finding hers beneath the control panel. Days blurred into weeks as they worked together, preparing Earth's defenses while growing ever closer. Their relationship deepened beyond physical attraction, becoming something profound and transformative. Landa's ancient knowledge complemented Laszlo's tactical expertise, creating strategies that would protect both their species. One evening, as they stood watching twin moons rise over the temple's spires, Landa shared a revelation that would change everything. "My people had a prophecy," she said softly, "about a union that would birth a new era, a joining of ancient and young, of shadow and light." Laszlo turned to her, understanding dawning in his eyes. "You think I know." Her hand rested on her abdomen, where new life was beginning to stir. "What's growing within me is unprecedented, a perfect fusion of our species. The prophecy speaks of such a child leading both races to victory against the darkness between stars." Their joy was private but profound, shared in the quiet moments between strategy sessions and defense preparations. The temple itself seemed to celebrate, its ancient systems humming with renewed purpose. Admiral Blade, ever observant, noticed the change in them. "I assume congratulations are in order," he asked one morning, surprising them in the archive chamber. Landa's emerald skin flushed darker. "News travels fast." "I'm head of the Interstellar Defense Fleet," Blade smiled. "Knowing things is my job." His expression grew serious. "This changes everything, doesn't it?" "It already has," Laszlo replied, standing protectively close to Landa. "The child will be proof that our species can do more than just coexist. We can evolve together, become stronger." Blade nodded thoughtfully. "The Council will need to be informed. This could be exactly what we need to unite humanity behind the coming war. The Harvesters will sense the child's unique energy signature," Landa warned. "They'll come for us with everything they have." "Let them come," Laszlo declared, his voice carrying the strength of both their species. "They'll find Earth ready, humanity standing alongside the last Nephiri, protecting a future they never imagined possible." The temple's defenses pulsed with power, as if responding to his words. Landa's hand found his, their fingers intertwining as they had that first day in battle. "You know," she mused, her fangs glinting in a playful smile, "when I went into that sarcophagus 6,000 years ago, I never imagined waking up to all this." "Disappointed?" Laszlo teased. "Quite the contrary." Her free hand rested on her abdomen, where their impossible miracle grew stronger each day. "I think I found something far more valuable than any treasure." Admiral Blade cleared his throat. "I'll leave you two to your strategic planning. The fleet will begin rotating defensive positions tomorrow." And as he left, Landa turned to Laszlo with mischief in her crimson eyes. "Strategic planning? Is that what humans call it now?" Their laughter echoed through the ancient halls, a sound of joy that hadn't been heard there for millennia. The temple's crystals sang in harmony with their happiness. He's celebrating the union of two species that would forever change the course of galactic history. Outside, Earth's military forces continued arriving, establishing a permanent presence around the temple. But within its ancient walls, Laszlo and Landa had created something far more powerful than any weapon. A love that transcended time, species, and the very laws of nature itself. Their child would be born into a world of both war and wonder, carrying the strength of humanity and the ancient power of the Neferi. But that was a story yet to unfold. Another chapter in an epic that began with a simple archaeological expedition and led to the greatest discovery in human history. Not of treasure, but of love. The ancient temple had transformed over the months since its discovery. What was once a silent tomb now hummed with the combined energy of Neferi technology and human innovation. Military installations blended seamlessly with the temple's organic architecture, creating a fortress unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Laszlo stood at the main control center, watching holographic displays track the integration of Neferi defense systems with Earth's orbital platforms. His reflection in the crystalline screens showed subtle changes. His eyes now held traces of luminescence, a side effect of prolonged exposure to the temple's energy. The quantum shields are synchronizing perfectly, Landa's voice carried across the chamber. She approached with fluid grace, her emerald skin glowing with an inner light that seemed brighter than ever. Her pregnancy had enhanced her natural radiance, making her even more ethereally beautiful. The Council's latest report shows a 300% increase in our defensive capabilities, Laszlo replied, reaching for her hand instinctively. Though I'm more impressed by how you've adapted human medical technology to monitor our little miracle. Landa's free hand rested on her swollen abdomen, where their son grew stronger each day. Neferi children typically develop much faster than human infants. Oh, but this, she smiled, fangs glinting. This is unprecedented. He carries the strength of both our species. The temple's crystals pulsed in harmony with their proximity, a phenomenon that had grown stronger since their bond deepened. Admiral Blade had dubbed it the resonance effect, noting how the ancient systems responded more powerfully when Laszlo and Landa worked in tandem. Have you decided on a name? Blade's voice interrupted their moment. The Admiral approached, carrying reports on the latest defense preparations. Landa's eyes sparkled with mischief. Actually, we have. In Neferi tradition, children of great destiny receive names that blend power and prophecy. She exchanged a loving glance with Laszlo. We've chosen Nexerin. It means light born of shadow, Laszlo explained, seeing Blade's questioning look. Fitting for a child who will unite our species. The Admiral nodded approvingly. The Council will appreciate the symbolism. Speaking of which, he activated a holographic display showing massive fleet movements. The Harvester Swarm has changed the course. They're gathering in the Carina Nebula, amassing forces we've never seen before. They sense him, Landa said softly, protectively cradling her abdomen. Nexerin's energy signature is unique, proof that their quest for genetic perfection through force was always flawed. Our child represents everything they've sought for millennia, achieved through love rather than conquest. Laszlo pulled her closer, his protective instincts flaring. The months since their first encounter had transformed them both. Their bond had grown beyond physical attraction into something profound and unshakable, defying the very laws of nature. The combined fleet will be ready, Blade assured them. Every nation on Earth has contributed ships and personnel. Humanity stands united, thanks to you both. Not just humanity, Landa corrected, gesturing to the temple's displays. The temple's archives have revealed locations of other Neferi outposts. Some may have survived, hidden in stasis like I was. We've awakened something greater than ourselves. As if in response, the temple's systems flared with new energy. Emergency alerts flashed across the screens, but not of danger, of hope. Multiple stasis signatures detected, a technician called out. Similar to the original sarcophagus, scattered across 12 different sectors. Landa's eyes widened, tears of joy forming. My people? They survived. More of us survived. Laszlo embraced her carefully, mindful of her condition but unable to contain his own excitement. You're not the last anymore, love. Our son won't be alone. Admiral Blade was already coordinating rescue missions, dispatching ships to each location. The war with the Harvesters was coming, but now they had hope of awakening more allies before the storm broke. The prophecy spoke of this, Landa whispered against Laszlo's chest. Awakening of shadows, heralded by a child of two worlds. But I never imagined him. Her words trailed off as she felt a powerful kick from within. Laszlo placed his hand beside hers, feeling their son's strength. He's going to be quite the warrior, he chuckled. Like his father, Landa teased, then grew serious. Laszlo, there's something else. Something I haven't told you about Neferi pregnancy. Before she could continue, the temple's lights dimmed dramatically. Energy surged through the crystal matrices and Landa gasped. It's time, she breathed, her emerald skin pulsing with internal light. The next hours were a blur of activity as ancient Nevatiri birthing chambers were activated, their healing energies combining with human medical technology. Laszlo never left Landa's side. Their hands clasped as 2 worlds' worth of medical knowledge worked to bring their miracle into existence. When Nixarin finally arrived, the temple itself seemed to celebrate. Crystal harmonics sang throughout the complex, and every piece of technology, human and Neferi alike, surged with unprecedented power. Their son was perfect. Emerald skin, a shade lighter than his mother's, with his father's strong features. When he opened his eyes, they shone with a golden light that was neither human nor Neferi, but something gloriously new. He's beautiful, Laszlo whispered, cradling his son while sitting beside an exhausted but radiant Landa. He's hope, she corrected softly. Look. The temple's displays showed massive energy spikes from each of the discovered stasis locations. Somehow Nixarin's birth had triggered a cascade effect, beginning the revival process for the hidden Neferi. Admiral Blade burst into the medical chamber, his usual composure cracked by excitement. The Harvester fleet, they're retreating, breaking apart, fleeing in all directions. They sense the awakenings, Anawananda explained, her voice filled with wonder. They finally understand. True evolution comes not from stealing and consuming, but from love and union. Laszlo leaned down to kiss her, their son cradled between them. So much for their superior technology. Indeed, she laughed softly. Though I must say, your human methods of creating new life are far more enjoyable than our ancient genetic engineering. Blade cleared his throat awkwardly. I'll leave you 3 alone. The council can wait a few hours for their update. As the admiral left, Laszlo and Landa gazed at their son, watching him take in his new world with curious golden eyes. You know, Laszlo mused, when I opened that sarcophagus, I thought I'd found the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. And instead, Landa prompted, her fangs glinting in a tired but happy smile. Instead, I found the greatest treasure in any history. Love that transcends species, time, and space itself. He kissed her again, then their son's forehead. Though I have to admit, your first meal request was rather unusual. Says the man who laser-cooked a rat for me, she teased. I'd say we're even. The temple hummed around them, its ancient power now fully awakened and integrated with Earth's defenses. Outside, the first transport ships were departing to retrieve the surviving Neferi, while defense fleets maintained their vigilant watch. But in that quiet medical chamber, none of that mattered. A family born of 2 worlds gazed at their miracle child, their love having accomplished what millennia of harvester evolution could not. Perfect harmony between species. Nixarin gurgled happily, his tiny hand gripping his father's finger with surprising strength, while his mother's midnight hair draped protectively around them both. The future was uncertain, but it was bright with possibility. And it all began because a human archaeologist opened a sarcophagus expecting treasure, and instead found something far more precious. A love that would change the universe forever. 10 years later, the ancient temple, once a solitary structure on a remote world, had blossomed into the heart of Earth's first true interstellar metropolis. Crystal spires merged seamlessly with human architecture, creating a stunning fusion of both civilizations that stretched for miles in every direction. The original temple complex now served as both the headquarters of the Human Neferi Alliance and home to the family that had made it all possible. Laszlo stood at his favorite observation point, the highest spire of the temple, watching the triple sunset paint the sky in spectacular hues. His appearance had subtly changed over the decade, Exposure to Neferi energy had given his brown eyes a slight luminescent quality, and his still muscular frame carried an otherworldly grace. His beard, now streaked with distinguished silver, did nothing to diminish his rugged appeal. "Contemplating the universe again, my love?" Landa's voice carried its familiar musical tone as she approached. Her emerald skin seemed to glow with internal starlight, and her midnight hair cascaded freely around her eternally youthful face. Their bond had only grown stronger with time, defying all conventional understanding of both species. "Just admiring what we've built," he replied, pulling her close, "though I'm still not used to seeing Earth's ships alongside Neferi vessels." The space above them bustled with activity, crystalline Neferi ships gracefully maneuvering between Earth's more conventional but equally advanced vessels. The integration of their technologies had propelled human civilization forward by centuries. A flash of golden light announced their son's arrival. Nixaran, now 15, materialized beside them with casual ease. At his age, he stood nearly as tall as Laszlo, his emerald skin a shade lighter than his mother's with his father's strong features. His golden eyes, unique to him, seemed to hold the wisdom of both civilizations. "Mother, father," he greeted them with a warm smile that showed hints of delicate fangs. "Uncle Blade's fleet just returned from the Carina Nebula. The last Harvester holdouts have officially requested to join the Alliance." Laszlo raised an eyebrow. "They're finally ready to learn." After witnessing what willing genetic exchange can achieve, Landa gestured to their son. "We've proven that evolution through cooperation surpasses forced adaptation." Nixaran's abilities had become legendary among both species. He could shift between human and Neferi traits at will, combining their strengths in ways that had revolutionized their understanding of both biologies. More importantly, he'd inherited his father's compassion and his mother's wisdom. The Academy's latest research suggests our method of species integration could work for others, Nixaran continued, bringing up a holographic display with a casual gesture. The Harvester's scientists are particularly interested in studying how human and Neferi DNA achieved willing fusion. Landa's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Perhaps we should spare them the intimate details of that research," Laszlo chuckled, remembering their early days together. "I still say it was my irresistible charm." "It was your laser-cooked rat that won me over," she countered, fangs glinting in the fading light. Their playful banter was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Blade, now Supreme Commander of the Alliance fleet. Age had weathered his face, but his eyes remained sharp as ever. "Sorry to interrupt family time," he said, nodding respectfully to each of them, "but the Council is requesting your presence. The awakened Neferi from the Andromeda colonies have arrived." The news sparked excitement in all of them. Over the years, they discovered and revived Neferi outposts throughout the galaxy, each group bringing new knowledge and perspectives to their growing civilization. "How many this time?" Landa asked, her voice carrying the hope that never dimmed. 3,000, Blade replied with a smile, "including a full council of genetic architects. They're particularly interested in meeting the family that proved their ancient prophecies correct." The prophecy of shadow and light joining to create a new future had become central to both human and Neferi culture. Nixaran's birth had sparked a renaissance of scientific and spiritual understanding between the species. "We should prepare for the welcoming ceremony," Laszlo suggested, but Nixaran raised a hand. "Already handled, Father. I've coordinated with both human and Neferi protocol officers. The Great Hall is ready, and I've arranged for that performance of merged musical styles you enjoyed so much." Landa beamed with pride. "Our son, ever efficient." "Wonder where he gets that from," Laszlo teased, remembering how Landa had reorganized the entire temple's defense systems in her first week after awakening. They made their way through the temple's transformed corridors, where humans and Neferi worked together seamlessly. The once empty halls now buzzed with activity, research, and cultural exchange. Children of both species played together in specially designed areas, their laughter echoing off crystal walls. The Great Hall, where Laszlo had first fought alongside Landa against the Harvesters, had become a stunning example of their unified civilization. The ancient architecture now housed state-of-the-art technology while maintaining its spiritual significance to both peoples. As they entered, a hush fell over the assembled crowd. Humans in formal attire stood alongside Neferi in their traditional crystalline robes. Among them were faces familiar and new, scientists, warriors, and leaders who had helped build their shared future. Nixaran took his place at the central podium, his presence commanding respect beyond his years. As he began the welcoming speech in perfectly accented Neferi, Laszlo and Landa exchanged proud glances. "Did you ever imagine that?" Laszlo whispered, watching their son address the gathered civilizations with natural diplomacy. "When you went into that sarcophagus all those years ago?" Landa's hand found his, their fingers intertwining as they had countless times before. "I hoped for survival," she admitted softly, "but you gave me so much more. You gave me life, love, and a future I never dared dream of." The ceremony proceeded with the precision of long practice, but the wonder never faded. Each new group of awakened Neferi brought fresh perspectives and technologies to share, while humanity's adaptability and innovation continued to impress their ancient allies. Later that evening, as celebrations continued throughout the complex, the family retreated to their private quarters in the temple's heart. The space reflected their unique blend. Human comfort merged with Neferi aesthetics, creating a home unlike any other in the galaxy. "The Andromeda group brought something special," Nixerin announced, producing an ornate crystal sphere. "They say it's a recording from before the Harvester War, showing Neferi's civilization at its height." As the sphere activated, the room filled with holographic images of magnificent crystal cities and advanced technologies. Landa watched with tears in her eyes, seeing her civilization's glory reborn in new ways through their alliance with humanity. "We've surpassed even this," she said proudly, "not through conquest or forced evolution, but through love and willing partnership." Laszlo wrapped his arms around her from behind, watching their son study the ancient recordings with scholarly interest. "We've created something entirely new," he agreed, "something better than either civilization was alone." The sphere's images shifted to show current scenes: human cities embracing Neferi crystal technology, Neferi adopting human art and culture, and the countless children of both species growing up together in harmony. "The Harvesters sought perfection through theft and force," Nixerin observed, his golden eyes reflecting the holographic light. "But true perfection comes from choice, from love, from willing union." His words carried the weight of truth learned from both his heritages. The boy born of two worlds had become a bridge between them, proving that differences could become strengths when embraced with an open heart. Outside their windows, the city sparkled with combined human and Neferi lights. Transport vessels wove between buildings, carrying people of both species to homes, work, and entertainment. The fear and isolation that had driven the Neferi into hiding millennia ago had been replaced by celebration of their differences and similarities. "You know," Laszlo mused, "I still have that first mission report. Discovered ancient temple, expected treasure, found vampire instead." Landa laughed, the sound like crystal chimes. "The Interstellar Archaeological Society certainly got more than they bargained for." "They got a revolution," Nixerin added, deactivating the sphere. "A peaceful one that changed two species forever." As night fell over the temple complex, the family stood together at their private balcony. Below them, celebrations continued as humans and Neferi welcomed their new kindred from Andromeda. Above, ships from both civilizations patrolled in a perfect harmony, protecting the future they'd built together. "To think," Landa said softly, "it all began because a curious human couldn't resist opening a mysterious sarcophagus." "Best decision I ever made," Laszlo replied, kissing her temple. Their son made a show of rolling his golden eyes, but his smile betrayed his joy at his parents' endless romance. In many ways, their love had become symbolic of the bond between their species. Unexpected, powerful, and transformative. The temple's crystals hummed with contentment, their ancient energy forever altered by the love story that had begun within their walls. What was once a tomb had become a cradle of new life, new hope, in a future brighter than either species had imagined possible. And somewhere in the vast archives, a simple sarcophagus stood as a testament to their journey, no longer a prison of survival, but a symbol of awakening, of love's power to transform, and of humanity's endless capacity to turn the impossible into reality.